So here's a Q analysis around comparing Figma against its competitors. And as you can see, by 2017, InVision was the most used tool in this market segment, and Figma had less than 10% of the market. And now in 2020, actually now 2021 is way more, but by 2020, Figma had over 50%. Nowadays is around 70% of the market that they dominate. And how did they do that? Well, actually, we're going to analyze their exponential model inside the exponential organization's canvas, okay? Now, this canvas is actually a reflection of what you see here. It's only on the opposite side. So the scale acronym is on the left-hand side, and the ideas acronym is on the right-hand side. And I'm sorry, I want to say I'm sorry for you guys, okay? Now, let's go. The first thing we need to analyze is their massive transformative purpose. So if we go to their website, there's not many informations here because their goal is to help you work on your designs. But if you start diving on their like blogs and all this, you're gonna realize that they have a nice MTP, massive transformative purpose, which is transform the world through design. That's their purpose, right? And for me, I believe that's a very powerful purpose because it connects directly with their community, designers, right? So in a scale of, let's say, 1 to 10, I will give them like a 10. Now, 10 is too much, but let's say a 9 for their MTP, right? Because they're trying to transform the world through design. Now, if we follow the same logic that I presented you before, the first attribute we're going to look at is community. And that's exactly the most powerful tool that Figma brought to the market. Because if we compare Figma to those other platforms that I had here, none of them had collaboration inside the platform. So if you're working with an InVision project, you needed to save that project as a particular extension, and you needed to send to someone else so they can open in their own computer and watch what you were doing. And you can never work together, neither on Sketch, InVision, or Adobe XD. You can never do that. And Sketch has another drawback. Sketch is a Mac-only platform. So only users of Mac computers and Apple computers could work with Sketch. It was a very powerful tool around like prototyping and all that, but you can only use if you had an Apple computer. So the first thing that Figma did, the most important thing actually they did, was to bring this collaboration inside their platform. And they completely disrupted the market because they did that. And it's something like kind of like obvious nowadays, right? In 2016, 17, we had all those different tools already for us to collaborate and work together based on the cloud and all this. So the first thing they did was to add this collaboration feature, right? And that opened another door for them. So I'm going to put like on a scale of 1 to 10, they deserve 11 in this attribute, right? But I'll give them a 10. But also that opened another possibility for them that I'm not sure if I'm going to manage to show to you here. Is that, where is it? Here, the integrations, but also the plugins. Look, they open the door of their software for people to build plugins. And plugins are something so old in the industry, right? And none of the other tools had plugins. So it's quite astonishing, right? You couldn't have like plugins for InVision. You couldn't have plugins for Adobe XD back then when Figma started. So, you know, it's plugins built by the community. That's amazing, right? But how did they get to that? They first understood the community and what designers needed to do. And then inside the community's algorithm or the customer journey of designers, what did they realize? They realized that most design work was collaborative. And then you had like two designers working with the same squad inside the same team in a startup or a software corporation, and they needed to exchange files one with the other by sending emails, right? So, hey, I finished, like, let's go to this example over here, and one of the designers like do this login page, and he sends to the other guy, hey, I just finished the login page. Here's the file. So you needed to send an email with the file so the other person could hop in and see your file. It's amazingly stupid, right? Nowadays, if we think about it. So the first thing they realized was that for their community, the work was collaborative. And there was no tool to build collaboration. So I'm going to say that algorithm-wise, like understanding their customer journey and building a new solution for them, they're a 10 also, right? Because they really transformed that. And how did they transform that? Through interfaces. So they understood the community, they understood their algorithm, and then they built a new interface. What interface? A web-based solution. What is the exponential technology behind web-based solutions? The cloud. And the cloud is the most important technology that we built in the last 20 years after the internet. Like, the cloud is actually empowered by the internet. So internet is the foundational layer, but then the cloud is the most important thing we ever built, because we can only do that, what we're doing right now, because of the cloud. You can only watch Netflix because of the cloud. You can only go to Facebook because of the cloud. So every time the cloud got into an industry, it completely disrupted the industry. And Figma was the first one to use the cloud in their a UX design interface. Because actually, when Adobe XD first started, it was not even inside Creative Cloud that Adobe brags about, right? So, and again, in their interfaces approach is a number 10. Now, because they became a web-based solution and they worked with the cloud, they became like this right solution for that particular customer journey and algorithm, right? Cool. So now we have the three main parts decided here, right? Now, when we talk about experiments, I cannot say, I'm not inside the company, so I don't know if the culture is very like experimenting. They do a lot of experiments, etc. But what I see is that they're usually doing new things inside their app. They're always updating the solution and bringing more features. And they just launched a competitor for Miro called FigJam. So they have a lot of updates inside their platform. So experiment-wise, I see they have a lot of new features. Features regularly, right? And that for me, again, is at least a 9 in a scale of 1 to 10. It's at least a 9 because they're always updating and bringing new ideas and all that. I believe they have an autonomous organization where people can really bring ideas and contribute with the project itself, but I'm not sure how much. So I'm not going to point this out because I'm not inside the company to actually measure that, right? But what I know is that they do a great work with staff on demand, because again, you have those plugins, right? All those plugins for the users. Oh, here I have posted here. The plugins built by the community makes that designers who work with Figma and then build the plugins for Figma, they're actually working for Figma, right? And Figma doesn't have to build all the features they believe they need to build. They just need to leave their system open so everybody can add their own plugins. And how do you do that? It's another exponential technology called API, Application Program Interface. So here we see the two main exponential technologies they're using: cloud computing and API systems, right? And again, I'm gonna add like a 9 here because I believe maybe there's something else they can do, but that's really high for them to have those plugin ideas and all this integration with different apps and all that. It's really amazing, right? Then leverage assets. Look, they're not like Airbnb, but what I know they do is that they use the community to help other people, right? So they're leveraging your knowledge to solve problems, right? So they have this community FAQ, let's say like that, right? And again, they use the cloud. And once you're using the cloud, you're already leveraging assets, because the cloud is not a system that you have inside your place, you know, your own data center and all this. The cloud is the ultimate level for leveraging assets. And here I think we can give them a 10 again, because they're leveraging the assets of using the cloud and all this. All those new features that we mentioned here and the plugins come here on this engagement way to do things. And that's quite interesting in the story that I have here between like Figma versus InVision, that was the main competitor back then, is that InVision was very focused on content marketing. They started to grow, and they started doing like documentaries around design and interviews with great designers, and bringing like books around design culture and design leadership and all that. And they missed and they lost track with their customer, because their customer wanted much more features and collaboration and all this than actually like content marketing, you know. And for me, that's a number 10. Finally, dashboards. Well, actually, everything is interconnected. They have a lot of data work that they do inside Figma, and they have like a blog for their data team that helps you as a customer understand what you can do with the technology wise. But they also give you heat map inside the platform and all this. So they have a really data-driven approach to things. And that's actually makes them a number 10. And finally, social tools. Well, I cannot say that inside the corporation, what tools do they use is very integrated and all this, but I know they integrate with several tools like Slack, Jira, and all those powerful platforms that companies are using. So I really believe that they have a close relationship with those companies. And I'm not going to add any number here because I don't know how they work internally, but I really see they do a lot of integrations, and I'm going to highlight that. So here you go. Here you have like a 10x organization. Figma just had a new round for funding, and they're now valued at $10 billion, $10 billion, a 5-year company, right? They're really transforming and disrupting the design industry. And that's how you build an exponential organizations. I hope you enjoyed our conversation tonight.